The breeze was soft that April morning in 2027 when I flipped the switch on my backyard windmill in Willow Creek, a quiet suburb nestled in the rolling hills of Oregon. The blades spun smoothly, whispering promises of clean energy as they powered my garage workshop. I was sipping a strong cup of black coffee, grinning at my little victory over the grid, when she appeared. Marjorie Hensley, the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, storming across my lawn like a general marching into battle. "That whirling eyesore is a blight on our community's charm," she bellowed, pointing at my windmill as if it were a missile silo. I chuckled, thinking she was exaggerating for effect. That was my first mistake. That laugh ignited a feud that would turn our sleepy neighborhood into a battleground of petty vendettas, legal maneuvering, and solar-powered defiance. I'd moved to Willow Creek 2 years earlier, a retired mechanical engineer with a knack for building things and a dream of tinkering in peace. My house sat at the edge of the subdivision, where the land dipped into a grassy valley, perfect for catching the steady winds off the Cascades. The neighborhood was a picture of suburban sameness-neat lawns, cookie-cutter homes, and cedar trees lining the streets. I didn't expect utopia, but I figured I'd found a quiet spot to experiment. My windmill, a sleek 15-foot marvel I designed myself, was no industrial giant. It was quiet, efficient, and fully compliant with county codes, powering my workshop where I fiddled with solar cells and old robotics projects. I'd even painted it to match my fence, thinking it blended in. For a week, it was perfect. Then Marjorie noticed. I first spotted her at a neighborhood potluck, standing by the deviled eggs, her eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses as she whispered to another HOA board member, gesturing toward my yard. I brushed it off as harmless gossip. I was wrong. The next day, a letter was wedged into my doorframe, accusing my windmill of being an unauthorized aerodynamic hazard that disrupted the visual serenity of Willow Creek. The jargon was absurd, like something out of a dystopian novel. I called the HOA's number, and Marjorie picked up, skipping pleasantries. "Have you dismantled that turbine yet?" she snapped. I explained I had a permit, that the windmill was invisible from the street, and that it met every regulation. She scoffed, declaring that HOA rules trumped county nonsense. I couldn't resist. "Marjorie, do you know what is?" The line went dead. That's when I realized I wasn't just dealing with a busybody. I'd made an enemy. 2 days later, my trash pickup vanished. The sanitation company said someone claiming to be me had canceled it. My mailbox was found splintered by the curb. Coincidence? Doubtful. Then came a flyer taped to my door. "Energy vandals not welcome in Willow Creek," signed by the Heritage Preservation Committee, a group that, after some digging, turned out to be Marjorie alone. I stayed calm, reinstating my trash service, rebuilding my mailbox, and installing security cameras. I figured she'd tire herself out. She didn't. One dawn, I caught her on my property, measuring my windmill with a tape measure and snapping photos. "Collecting evidence," she said when I confronted her. "For what?" "Breeze theft," I quipped. She didn't smile, just warned me to remove the visual abomination or face fines. I reminded her of my permit. "This is a community, not a tech expo," she hissed before stalking off. It was time to fight back, not with rage, but with precision. I called my old friend Ethan, a zoning attorney who owed me a favor from our college days. He confirmed my windmill was untouchable under state clean energy laws, and Marjorie's harassment could land the HOA in hot water. Better yet, the county had just rolled out a rebate program for renewable energy setups. If Marjorie dragged me to court, I'd walk away richer. But I didn't just want to win. I wanted her to feel the sting of her overreach. While Ethan prepped a legal counterstrike, I started sketching something bold-era 38-foot solar tower, perfectly legal, that would loom over Willow Creek like a beacon of defiance. If Marjorie hated a modest windmill, she'd lose her mind over this. The neighborhood began to split. Some neighbors dropped by with quiet support, like the teenage siblings next door who helped me dig the tower's foundation, or the guy who brought lemonade while we poured concrete. Others left anonymous notes calling me Solar Satan or Windmill Warlord. But many cheered me on, tired of Marjorie's reign. She, meanwhile, patrolled the streets like a dictator in designer flats, snapping photos and hosting emergency HOA meetings in her dining room. One evening, as I tightened bolts on the windmill, she marched over, waving a laminated HOA rulebook. "You're turning our home into a factory," she shrieked. I pointed to the flag fluttering beside my turbine. "Marjorie, this is America. We build things here." Her face turned beet red, and she stormed off. That night, my cameras caught her and two HOA cronies skulking near my fence with flashlights and clipboards. They weren't just spying. They were plotting. The feud escalated. Marjorie held a porch-side rally, standing on a step stool and waving an oversized HOA manual, warning that my windmill would unleash ecological havoc. Her loyalists, mostly retirees with matching garden gnomes, nodded gravely, while others looked skeptical. I worked on my solar tower, sipping coffee in plain view, letting her stew. Fines arrived daily, taped to my door, my car, even my dog's leash, citing nonsense like excessive rotor vibrations or solar reflection hazards. Ethan laughed them off. They were unenforceable. Marjorie wasn't aiming for legal victory. She wanted to wear me down. But I don't break easily. One afternoon, a black sedan screeched into my driveway. Marjorie emerged, clutching blueprints like a sword, and shoved them at me. "Cease and desist," she barked. I handed her a laminated copy of the county's green energy ordinance. She glared, then turned to the teens, helping me mix cement. "Do your parents know you're aiding illegal construction?" They grinned and said their dad had sent snacks. She left fuming. Days later, she sent a neighborhood email titled "Critical Threat Alert," claiming my windmill risked electrical surges and attaching a photoshopped image of it spewing sparks. Her petition to dismantle it got 9 signatures, 2 from the same person. She hadn't realized how many in Willow Creek were fed up with her. Support for me grew. A neighbor offered spare solar mounts. Another wired my backup system for free. My project was becoming a rebellion. Marjorie doubled down. County inspectors showed up, mumbling about radioactive components after an anonymous tip. I gave them iced tea and a tour. They left impressed, one asking about a mini windmill for his lake house. The solar tower's foundation was set, its steel frame rising. Marjorie staged a Save Our Skies protest, blocking my driveway with lawn chairs and a megaphone. Her crowd of 6, half of them confused passers-by scattered when my sprinklers accidentally kicked on. A local professor, intrigued by online buzz about our feud, offered me prototype solar tracking panels that boosted efficiency by 30%. As I installed them, Marjorie lurked, snapping photos with a clunky old camera. The tower reached 38 feet, its panels gleaming like a challenge. Marjorie's hydrangeas, her pride and joy, now wilted in its afternoon shadow. She showed up at my gate, gripping a trowel like a dagger, accusing me of solar sabotage. I offered shade-tolerant plant tips. She threw the trowel into my grass and vowed a lawsuit over bee disruption. Her lies grew wilder. She posted online that my tower blinded pilots and killed birds. On a local podcast, she called solar panels sky parasites and the sun a corporate scam. The internet turned her into a meme factory. A surprise inspection by a structural engineer hired by Marjorie proved to be a sham. Ethan shut it down with a single email. I filed a county complaint, citing her trespassing and fake reports. The response was swift. Marjorie and the HOA faced investigation for obstructing clean energy. She stood alone with a sign reading "In Solar Oppression," ignored by passing cars. Her final protest drew 3 people, one a lost delivery driver. At the county hearing in June 2027, Marjorie ranted about energy tyranny and neighborhood trauma. My evidence permits, footage of her trespassing, and sabotage attempt silenced the room. The ruling was brutal. The tower stayed, the HOA was fined, and Marjorie was barred from leadership pending a mental health review. She fled the room, her heels clicking like gunfire. That night, I climbed the tower's observation deck, watching the sunset bathe Willow Creek in gold. The fight was over, but the victory was just beginning. I threw a solar summer fest, powered entirely by the tower. Neighbors brought blankets and potluck dishes. Kids bounced in an inflatable castle. The tower ran lights, music, even a slushy machine. At dusk, its LEDs spelled out, "Embrace tomorrow." The crowd cheered, not just for me, but for what we'd reclaim a community free from petty control. Marjorie resigned quietly, her influence shattered. A new HOA head, a no-nonsense veteran named Clara, vowed reform. My case set a county precedent, protecting future green projects. 5 homes added solar panels. 3 installed microturbines. I started a newsletter column, Energy Forward, sharing tips without ever mentioning Marjorie. I saw her once at a market, hiding behind a fruit stand. Our eyes met briefly. She looked diminished. I felt no anger, only closure. The tower became Sunspire, a neighborhood landmark. I added a weather station, a free EV charger, and a solar-powered book exchange. It wasn't about me, Anna Maria. It was about proving you can fight nonsense with innovation and win without cruelty. Willow Creek changed, not by force, but because one guy built something the rules despised and stood tall when they tried to tear it down. What do you think? Can one person's stand against petty power really spark a revolution? Or was this just a lucky fluke? Should HOAs have any say over personal green energy projects? Or are they relics of control that need to go? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're Team Sunspire, and subscribe for more stories of defiance and ingenuity.